Alright, battlers, welcome back to our brand new Ferocious Cup feature. We are taking a look at Donphan. Guys, I've resisted making this video for a little while, but I just had so much great Donphan gameplay that I wanted to show you. In this first match, we're going up against Zangoose, and this is the first role that Donphan fills very, very well. That's using its counter fast attack to bring down the normal types. So as you just saw there, Zangoose didn't really stand a chance, got countered down really quick. I've got a ton of energy, and in comes that Nidoqueen. We do hit it with the heavy slam, and then out comes Bibarel. So Bibarel is going to take this Earth Power from Nidoqueen. My goal here is to whittle it down and save some energy for whatever's in the back, which is Pachirisu. And my objective here is to burn the shield. So we're trying to get these shields away from Pachirisu. I actually decide here to come in with Alolan Ninetales because I know that a shieldless Pachirisu will fall very easily to Donphan, even with the low health that it has. So I'm trying to work it down as far as possible. Battlers, if you're enjoying these Ferocious Cup feature videos, please let me know in the comments below. I did Hippowdon and I did Zebstrika, and this is the newest one. As you can see there, the Thunder doesn't do anything to that Donphan, and this might be a little bit of an overkill, but we do fire off the Earthquake to win the game. Going into game 2, we are facing off against my friend Sunny Cheese. I'm going to open with that Lickitung right into his Donphan. So Lickitung is one of the few normal types that is thick enough to actually withstand those counters. I do fire off the Power Whip, hoping he would not be prepared for it. Power Whip is a grass type attack, and it won't one-shot Donphan, but in the range that it's in currently, it will do a very good job. I decided to bring in my Donphan here, and I do have the significant health advantage, but as you already know, he has the energy advantage. So we do shield the Earthquake. In comes Piloswine, and again, Piloswine is part ice, and counter is not going to treat it very well, as with the Heavy Slam. So here we get to a second Heavy Slam. Counter charges so fast. That is going to be super effective, bringing down the Piloswine. Shields are down, and this is where Donphan really shines. So we're actually going to counter down hit the opposing Donphan and then go for the Heavy Slam. Here I made a mistake. I should have farmed up this Raichu to the Earthquake, but instead we decided to bring in our Sandslash, and we will Rock Tomb this Raichu for the win. Jumping into game 3, I will lead with Donphan into Alolan Marowak. So I had no idea how this matchup would go. I recognize that the Alolan Marowak is probably going to have Bone Club and Shadow Ball, and I didn't think the Bone Club would treat me very nicely, so I do swap into Ninetales, and as you can see there, the Bone Club doesn't really hurt Ninetales either, which is a little bit surprising. Maybe it was an undercharge. He does go for the Shadow Ball, and I do decide to shield. I'm going to go here for the Psyshock and draw the shield as well. As you are well aware, I'm sure, Alolan Marowak is a holdover from the Sinister Cup. This is a Fire Spin variant. I do decide to bring in my Skuntank here, and I know I can't afford to take a Bone Club, so I do shield. It actually was a Shadow Ball, which I don't think was the correct move. In comes Donphan, and we're going to learn here, guys, this Bone Club barely hurts at all. That Donphan is so dense. We're actually able to counter that Alolan Marowak all the way down, and we have a ton of energy. We are going to go for the Heavy Slam here against the Skuntank, drawing the shield, and now the shields are down, and Donphan is going to steamroll this team. We fire off the Earthquake, and this will effectively end Skuntank, and then in comes Pachirisu, and those sparks are doing nothing. He's actually going to fire off a charge move against us, which is a Thunderbolt, and look at that. Donphan takes that no problem. The Earthquakes are rolling, and Pachirisu is going down as well. Jumping into this game, I will lead with Lickitung into Bibarel. So again, I'm trying to go for that Power Whip here. As you can tell, the Water Guns are chipping us down. I decided to go for the Stomp just to see what it would do. Again, we're still testing things out here. It does go shielded, which is great for me. I decided to bring in my own Bibarel. Wary of the Hyper Fang, I will shield here. It actually is Hyper Beam, which is even better for me because that means he's way behind on energy. I do go for my own Hyper Fang, and it lands doing a tremendous amount of damage. I'm really loving Bibarel's Hyper Fang as a neutral damage move. It does really good work against the majority of the meta. I do fire off the Surf here against Umbreon. I'm trying to spam as many Surfs as I can. Here comes a charge attack from the Umbreon, and I'm going to allow this one through. Another role that Donphan can fill is that the counter damage does well against Umbreon. It's not going to beat it in a one-on-one very often, as the Sims will tell you, but it does do well in order to bring that Umbreon down lower in health so that other Pokemon can deal with it. So going back into the battle here, Umbreon's going to fire off a Foul Play, and Donphan takes that no problem. Shields are down, and I've got the Earthquake loaded. You know what that means. Earthquake against the Nidoqueen. and we bring it down with one shot. Battlers, going into this game, I will open with Ferret against that Santa Hat Raichu. So that is a Thunder Shock. As you can tell, it charges so quickly. I'm going to actually allow this Brick Break through. Ferret is running a quick attack. It does have Brick Break and Dig. Dig, I found, takes a long time to get to. I'm going to absorb that second Brick Break there and go for my own Brick Break here. I understand why in PvPoke they have Brick Break and Hyper Beam, because it takes so long to get to anything besides Brick Break. This Raichu is going to fire off the Brick Break against Donphan. Not a huge deal. Guys, I actually have a Heavy Slam ready for this Alolan Ninetales, and it goes through. Super effective damage, bringing down that Ninetales. In comes Hippowdon, and I'm pushing hard for the Earthquake, and we finally get there, which is great news for us. We bring down that Hippowdon, and look at this, guys. Donphan is going to sacrifice itself, but sweep that team. Going to this game, I will lead with Lanoon into that Raichu. So again, expecting some kind of Brick Break variant. I do swap here into Lairon, and I think that confuses my opponent a little bit. The right move here is to stay in and fire off those Brick Breaks, but he switches into Alolan Raticate. Lairon is going to farm up some energy here, and this Raticate's going to fire off the Crunch. I do think Crunch is the right move here. It's better than the neutral Hyper Fang, or excuse me, the normal type Hyper Fang. And that Raticate does shield my attack, and then I fire off the Body Slam here. Just trying to work that Body Slam spam and get a little chip damage done. If you don't have a counter user on your team like Donphan, Alolan Raticate can be a lot of trouble. I do counter that one down with just 4 attacks. I've got 2 shields, a pretty healthy Donphan. In comes Alolan Ninetales, and I know that I can work out another Heavy Slam, but that first one goes through and brings it down. So in comes that Raichu, and I know I pretty much have this game. I just need to fire off a few counters, and we're able to take down Raichu, but not before this Wild Charge. And look at this. Barely does any damage to Donphan. Donphan's a ground type that is so dense. Going to this game, I will lead with Minoon. I face off against Lanoon. So in this game, I'm going to fire off the discharges against it. This is an interesting matchup because that Shadow Claw will charge very quickly. I look for the swap there, but decide to stay in. I am going to shield the Grass Knot and go for another discharge here. This is a very close matchup in a lot of ways. Once that Grass Knot hits, it's going to do a lot of damage to Minoon, so I'm going to double shield here, going all in on my Minoon. And I fire off another discharge against my opposing Lanoon. And my opponent's going all in as well. He does burn the second shield. So here comes another Grass Knot, and I know Minoon can't take this, but my objective was achieved. I brought down both of those shields, and Donphan is about to roll through this team. In comes Lairon, and the counter is going to do great damage. In comes Bibarel, and look at this, guys. Even the water-type Bibarel is defenseless when the Earthquake is rolling. I know that a lot of these battles show Donphan when the opponent's shields are down, and you might say, oh, well, that's really easy. You know, the shields are down. This is just going to be an easy takedown. But if you look at other Pokemon in the meta, I think it's really hard to find something that's going to one-shot so many Pokemon like Donphan does. It cannot one-shot Umbreon, and it cannot one-shot probably 2 or 3 others in the meta. But I mean it when I say the Earthquake is just so devastating, and I really think it's a great asset for your team, especially considering the other things we've outlined so far as well. So back into the battles, I am facing off against Umbreon. Umbreon is hard to deal with no matter what Pokemon you bring. I'm very happy with the work Bibarel has done. I allow the foul play through, and I'm trying to water gun him down, but I know he's got a lot of energy, so even better for us, he decides to burn his energy. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty good. I think things are going well. I use a couple of charms here to bring down Umbreon, and then he decides to bring in Donphan. And this is where things get sticky, guys. He's going to actually charge up to the Heavy Slam. As a Donphan user myself, I do shield that, and out comes the Piloswine, and I go into Skunk Tank. So my shields are down, and he's maneuvered himself in such a way that he's in a very favorable position. He does fire off the Stone Edge, and I return fire with Crunch. He still has 1 shield left, though. I'm going to go here for another Crunch against the Piloswine, and it will go unshielded, but that Skunk Tank is so low, he's able to farm it down. Out comes my Alolan Ninetales, and in spite of the Psy Shock, it's just not going to be enough. He is going to shield that there, and I know this is over. In comes a Heavy Slam, and the really great Donphan gameplay by my friend, Sunny Cheese. This is the second to last battle of the video. Here we see my friend Church leading Donphan, so it's Donphan versus Donphan. I decided to bail out into Bibarel, and in comes the Shelgon. Shelgon is really surprisingly hard to deal with. Obviously, the Charmers will do well against it. Hyperfang also does a tremendous amount of damage, so I recommend whenever you're facing off against one to go for that neutral, normal type damage if you can. He's going to actually fire off a flamethrower here against my Furret, and Furret's going to be able to bring it down with quick attacks. So Church thinks things over. He decides to bring in his mighty Swagron. I'm going to fire off the Brick Break though, and Swagron is not going to like this. The fighting type damage is super effective, bringing down almost half of its life. I get to another Brick Break. Another reason why Furret is ranked so highly is because it's so spammy. He actually is going to shield that one, and then in comes that Donphan. Here I tapped the Brick Break before I made the swap, so it's actually going to go through after the shield, which is unfortunate because I wanted to save that Brick Break for the Swagron in the back. So I'm trying to charge up to another one, and I make a big mistake, and I don't get there. I decided to bring in my Donphan though, and I am not afraid at all of whatever this Swagron has in its charge move bank. He is actually going to bring it back in and then fire off the Heavy Slam. Not a huge deal. I'm able to get to the Earthquake, and we bring down Swagron. Taking a look at the final match of the video, I opened Donphan into Skuntank. Skuntank is part dark, so these counters are going to add up. He's going to bail out into his Shelgon. I bring in Bibarel, again trying to go for the Hyperfang, but he's actually going to get to his move first. He's going to fire off the Flamethrower. I probably could have gone without the shield there, probably a mistake by me. I'm going to play this one a little bit differently and try to go for Surf. Surf does get shielded. He was expecting Hyperfang, I'm sure. I'm actually able to get to another Surf. So this is a good lesson. If you're in this matchup here, you might be able to get to double Surf against Shelgon, even if it has an energy advantage. So he's going to fire off another move. It will be Flamethrower, and in comes Swagron. These counters are going to add up quick, but I fire off the Earthquake instead. It does land, doing super effective damage. I counter down this Shelgon, and I have the Earthquake ready for the Skuntank, and Donphan is going to essentially sweep this team when the shields are down. Guys, Donphan was so much fun to play with. I'm going to continue to use it. I want it to be on my team, and it's been a joyride so far. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that like for Donphan. And stay ferocious.